We got some people coming in now.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hello, everyone. Scott Roberts and John Goss here from the Astronomical League. It's my pleasure to have you on with our, I call this the Explore Now series of talks. But it's really important to have someone like you that has been so involved with the Astronomical League to come and talk to us about what's going on with amateur astronomy, both, I guess, here locally in the United States, but around the world. Uh, the league, as I know it, is the world's largest federation of astronomy clubs. I think you have almost 20,000 members, something like that. And it's been around since when, John?
Depends who you talk to. I think that the official date was 1947. It was thought to have been started just before World War II, but Pearl Harbor postponed it, and the war came along. So it was like a couple years after the war ended is when it started.
I see. I see. The league, and I've been to many astronomical league conventions. Maybe you can describe the league to those who don't really know what the league is all about.
Okay. Yeah, we're a group of amateur astronomers across the United States, as well as around the world now, who are interested in astronomy and in organized astronomy.
Hmm.
So the league has come along and put together programs to help keep the interest up in astronomy and to get clubs together and have them learn from each other and so on. So we have a quarterly magazine called The Reflector, which has been coming out since the mid to late 1950s, which ties everything together. We have an annual convention called ALCON, the Astronomical League Convention,
Sure.
and that's every year since I think about 1950, except this year, which we can talk about here in a moment for obvious reasons. And we have regional star parties and so on. We have many awards to help celebrate the efforts that amateurs have put into their clubs and the organization and the hobby and all that to recognize what they've done,
Hmm.
such as a newsletter editor award, a webmaster award, various recognition awards, such as the Peltier, which thank you, Explore Scientific, for helping sponsor that. That's
Thank you.
that's a big deal. It's a big help.
Runner, sure.
That's sort of, if you don't know what the Peltier Award is, it's something like awarding somebody the best amateur award of the year type thing. It's a big deal. It's quite an honor. And we have a number of other awards that we give out as well. We have a sketching award, and well, I don't want to go into them all here
And
right
the
now because
National Young Astronomers Award, which is the youth.
exactly that's another one. We have youth awards. I think we have 10 pathways to receiving a youth award. National Young Astronomer Award. There are two people who are recognized every year for that.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Jack Horkheimer suite of awards for youth members, more service than for research ideas behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a big deal, and sometimes we lose sight of why we give these awards. That we have these youth awards not really to promote amateur astronomy or try to get kids to become professional amateurs. What we're doing is to help kids see their future, open their horizons, open their eyes to see what they could do. And some of them like astronomy, and go into it. It's a great advocate, it's a great hobby, it's a great profession. But I recognize a lot of these kids won't go into astronomy, but still it will benefit them in their own lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, astronomy is a gateway science
Yeah.
for a lot of people. Explore Scientific has been involved in supporting the National Young Astronomers Award, and I've always been like stunned at,
Mhm.
at the research that these kids are doing. These are
Oh
high
yeah.
school students. They're doing
Yeah.
like measuring the radial velocity of black holes and globular star populations. To infer the existence of dark matter. I mean, stuff like
Mhm.
that is uh,
Yeah.
just
Don't
incredible.
don't ask me what they've done, because I can follow it for about the first 5 minutes, and then you just get right into it. It's very interesting, but
Yes.
in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, gosh, I wish there was something like that available when I was their age.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
It really affected a lot of lives when I was growing up as well.
Hmm.
That's really good. That this whole topic of how astronomy can influence our lives really comes into play today.
Hmm. How,
You know,
how
I,
so?
I don't I don't have to explain to everybody what's going on in the world. Things have been pretty much turned upside down,
Right.
and a lot of people are especially with the shutdown, they're feeling kind of lost and beside themselves. They don't know what to say, do, think, or whatever. Well, I've always found that just going outside in the daytime or at night, going out and doing a little astronomy at night helps bring you some comfort on what's going on with the world. Simply because the stars have been there for generations. They're the same stars that your grandparents saw.
That's
They're
true.
the same stars that Aristotle saw, by
Also.
and large. And it's their immutability of the heavens that helps bring us comfort, knowing that even as if everything is in complete disarray on Earth, in the heavens things are going exactly as they should be,
Right.
and it kind of humbles you. We all, as astronomers, we like talking about big numbers, astronomical numbers. 240,000 miles to the moon. 2.5 million light years to the Andromeda Galaxy, and we go on and on like that, and we end up start talking about eternity and infinity. This is
Which are hard things for a lot of people to grasp at first.
it's hard for us to grasp, but somehow we manage to spit them out in words,
Right.
and it really puts perspective on our little tiny world in this one
Right.
small part of the cosmos.
And all the problems that you think that you might have, and you start putting that into perspective as the whole universe expanding with, it's hundreds of billions or trillions of galaxies, and it's that adventure though is not something that is at a distance that only pros can do or
Mhm.
academia
Mhm.
can do. This is
It's
something, and the league shows people how to do this step by step. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
get into your backyard, look up at the sky. You start off with programs. Maybe you should talk a little bit about your programs, but you have a binocular program
Mhm.
to observe the
Mhm.
sky.
Mhm.
And then the Messier Marathon
Mhm.
might be one of them. And you have a Herschel, I think, certification, and
Yes, yes,
many
yes.
others like that. How did those programs really get started, John?
Well, let me think here. What year was it? 1967. Um, can't remember the lady's name of the amateur astronomers of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
She observed all the Messier objects, and for 1967, that's a big deal because they didn't have like 15-inch Dobsonian-sized telescopes. A good telescope of the day would have been 90 millimeter, a 6-inch reflector would have been a good deal to have. But anyway, she saw all these things, and so the league thought that would be a good thing to recognize. So that was the first one given,
Mm-hmm.
and a number of awards were given since that point. But then in 1981, the second program was the Herschel 400.
Oh, right.
And that is it's an interesting program. I won't say it's a bear to do, but it's 400 objects,
It's
so it
not
does
easy.
take time.
Not easy.
And, but anyway, people really like these programs. So we went on with the double star, having that people like looking at the double stars, people like looking at various planetary things. So we combined all this stuff. So today we have well over 60 different programs. Some very general, some really for the beginner, like going out and looking at constellations and the bright stars, learning the night sky.
Mm-hmm.
Others are kind of slowly stepping into it with your binoculars and telescope, binocular double stars. We have something called the Galileo program, which is trying to duplicate what he did 420 years ago, whatever it was, 410 years ago now, using binoculars. And yes, you can see a lot of things with binoculars. That's a good way to get started in the hobby.
Sure.
I can go on and on about this, but what we try to do is incorporate all these programs into one master program that recognizes you every step of the way on how well you do and how many of them that you're able to complete. And by the time you get 10 or 20 of these done, you're pretty much an expert, really. You're not only an astrophysical expert, you're the guy who knows what you can see through your telescope.
That's right.
So if somebody starts coming up and say, well, I saw this or that, and you think, no, you can't do that. You really know what you can see and what other people can see. You're an authority, believe it or not.
That's right, because you've been there and done that. But at the same time, too, you've taken that journey of exploration. I think that that aspect that you were talking about, the this kind of calming effect that you have from looking up at the sky. We talked about this a little bit earlier before we went on air, and we were talking about. John brought up the aspect of just looking at anything in nature. What do you know, or what have you read, or what have you experienced, John, about this kind of thing on a personal level? You're someone that started with the league about 20 years ago, I guess, right?
Yes, sure.
Right? And you followed this kind of structured path through the Astronomical League, which has been rewarding in its own right. But as an astronomer, that moment, that tipping point for you, what happened? I mean, how did you get so involved in this?
When I started really in the league, I like the idea of some structure. Instead of just walking out on your own and looking up and not knowing what to look at, it kind of points you in the right direction. It gives you many different options to do so, but it still gets you outside to look under the stars. So I went to a number of star parties and astronomy gatherings and listened to what people were saying. And finally, it hit me on something, on why our avocation is so special. When you think about what we do, it is completely unlike any other avocation out there. I mean, we are the ones who see the universe firsthand. Right. We don't have to look it through magazines or see it on TV. We see it firsthand with our own eyes, with our telescopes. We can see distant star clusters. We can see planets that have atmospheres and properties totally unlike our own. We can see galaxies that are millions of light years away. We can see, just go on and on. We're the only people who see the cosmos as it really is. Right. No one else can say that. Right. And we are the ones that see the universe. Yeah, and I think it's really special.
Right? Yes.
And that's which it kind of ties into going out now with the troubles we're having down in our little blue world, just going out and looking up and seeing things that you may not know exactly what you're looking at, but you know that it is nothing like here on Earth, and that attached with whatever you're looking at are concepts and numbers so big, so strange that it's hard to really grasp for yourself or explain it to other people, and how far away something is, or how big something is, how massive something is, how hot something is, right. All this stuff. it's crazy, but we're the ones who see this stuff. Just think, every time you walk out and look at the night sky, you look up, whether you know it or not, you are confronted by infinity and eternity.
Yes,
So
that's true. That's the truth of
no
it.
one else can say that.
That's right. So I've experienced this too. And there's I will tell you that when I have personal challenges or professional challenges in life and the pressure is on,
Yeah.
okay, one of the things that can really calm me down a lot is actually getting out under the sky.
Hmm.
The darker the sky, the better,
Yeah,
because I can start to see the Milky Way,
yeah, exactly.
haze.
Exactly.
Maybe I can see the Andromeda Galaxy naked eye. I know it's
Hmm.
over 2 million light years away.
Right, right.
And
It's
start to
amazing.
think about, okay, it's not a reflection. This isn't a copy. This is real. Okay.
Hmm.
This is
Hmm.
real. And um, for a lot of people, maybe you've experienced this too, John, when you first take people out, they're the uninitiated, and then you start expressing, interpreting the sky for them as they're looking through the telescope. And you say, look, this is the Whirlpool Galaxy. It's what, 30 million light years away or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And people go, well, how far is that? Put that into miles for me. Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, well, it's
Hmm.
5.9 trillion miles
Yeah,
30
time.
million. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you do the math. But then I hear a lot of people say, and maybe this is also something you've experienced, but a lot of people, they feel like they are now, they're humbled.
Hmm.
Okay. And
Hmm.
then I've often heard them say, well, then we're just like specks on tiny
Yeah,
specks on tiny specks on
yeah.
tiny specks. And I'd say, physically, that's true. I said, but the universe that you're experiencing right now, your mind is as vast as that because you're seeing it for yourself. Okay.
Hmm.
Some astronomers call it fossil light or whatever, but those are real photons. They're not copies here. So I I um I agree with that, and I think that the Astronomical League. I mean, you've got this organization that is basically spooning this out for people. This is
Hmm.
I mean, for a lot of us that are into astronomy, maybe we're into the science or we're gearheads. Okay, we love the gear or whatever. But really, something that's not talked about a lot is the wellness aspect of this. Okay,
Hmm.
it is something that expands your mind, expands your heart, uh, reaches down to the depths of your soul.
It does.
So a lot of people wax philosophical about this kind of stuff.
You talk about the various aspects or various facets of astronomy. I've divided it up into four sections. You have the science of astronomy. We all like hearing about the astrophysics of this or that. But then there is the art of observing.
Yes.
You go out, you try to train your eyes to see things, understand what you're seeing. There's the joy of outreach.
Yeah.
Now, outreach, it can be a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun. Um, you know, Leonardo da Vinci once said, "There are those who see, there are those who can be made to see, and there are those who can't see."
We're
So
blind.
can't see.
Even
Well,
with
so
their eyes wide open and
first two
working
groups we
eyes
mentioned
too.
to reach, but there's some people who will just never get it.
That's true.
But the fourth aspect of the hobby, which is something that I know Explorer Scientific is heavily into,
Hmm.
and that is the coolness of the well-crafted precision equipment that we
Oh,
have.
no, thank you. Thank you.
Your telescopes,
Hmm.
your eyepieces, your
Hmm.
filters. I'm not even talking about imaging because I'm not an imager, but I know if you want something cool, you just look at what they're doing with imaging, and it's all over the map. It is really interesting to see what they're doing.
True.
And just the telescopes. Just think of all the types of telescopes we have.
Oh, I
There,
know.
your refractors, which are broken down in your aprochromatics and your this or that. I don't even know.
Acromats and all the rest of it.
You got your
But if
reflectors.
you look at the industry overall, wow, the good choices that amateur astronomers have available to them today.
Oh,
If you
mm,
had compared that to 50 years ago when the league
yeah,
started to now,
yeah.
it has just gotten better and more advanced. And the stuff that amateur astronomers do, not only from like an organic astronomy for me is that Dobsonian, just looking and pointing the telescope and knowing where objects are by heart,
Mhm.
okay, or by
Mhm.
finding them through a star map. Uh, to very advanced robotic, computerized telescopes that people operate remotely around the world.
Mhm.
Um, and then you have these professional amateur collaborations, that go on. And so, um, and you could find all of those aspects of astronomy within the Astronomical League. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it
I
is
think you,
something, I put a link in this posting to go back to the league. Yeah, it goes to your homepage, but there is a membership section there. But how do most people join the league, John?
most people, almost all people, belong to a club that belongs to the Astronomical League. And what that means is that part of your dues for your club membership dues will be included in the Astronomical League membership.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we have the last numbers I saw were in February, and we had about 18,500, which is, from our point of view, it's really good.
Yeah, it is good.
Because during the height, or I should say the bottom of the Great Recession, we had 13,999. And I kept thinking, why can't one more person join? What's this 13,999? But now we're up to 18.5. It's probably a little bit higher than that in May.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and that's great because to me that says that the league is doing a good job.
Oh,
But
sure.
it also says that astronomy in general is healthy.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Astronomy it's never going to be for everybody, but it's going to be for a lot of people. And the more people who can get something out of it, I think that's a good thing. As I was just saying about the going out and looking at the sky and receiving comfort and satisfaction about what you're doing, that's great. Not everyone's going to go out and get an 18-inch Dobsonian telescope, but everyone is going to go out and look up and see certain stars and constellations, and maybe take a pair of binoculars with them and see some of this stuff up there.
That's right.
That's good.
The telescopes and the binoculars are windows on the universe, but your own
That's
eyes, naked eye astronomy is a lot of fun. You've got meteor showers that occur all year long.
Mhm.
There's always, if you always have your eyes kind of towards the sky, all of us that are amateur astronomers have this story about some huge meteor, that we call them bolides, streaking
Mhm.
across the sky, lighting up the whole the parking lot or the neighborhood or whatever, so that it heard them. And
Well,
but
if you want to have a lot of fun,
other people standing near by that totally miss it because they're not tuned in a little bit to knowing that there's things in the sky all the
they're,
time.
they're watching too much TV.
Yes.
But I'm sure we've all had this experience in which we've done outreach. We're looking at something in the sky, Saturn or the Orion Nebula or something,
Hmm.
which we've all seen 100 times already. But I
Sure.
still find it pretty interesting.
Me
But
too.
you have this line of people at the telescope, and just think of who is in that line. It's a microcosm of humanity. There's always a family, a mom or dad. They're carrying some kids with them, and of those kids, there's always one of them who is fact, just spouts facts left and right. Now, how many
Yeah.
moons does Saturn have?
They know the distance. They know how big, and
Big things are. This he or she will know.
yeah,
There's always somebody like that in line.
and
There's
he or she's
always
7 years
somebody,
old.
always somebody who's never really looked through a telescope before, and they're kind of shocked at what the moon looks like.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my God, I didn't realize you could see all that. Yep, that's the moon. There's always somebody who's like an older person, older than I am,
Hmm.
who wants to see Mars for the first time.
Yes.
And she sees it and it's like, wow, I'm all blown away. There's a couple on a date, and you impress them with what they see, and you can just imagine that they're walking away on this date talking between themselves about what they just saw and what it all means to them and how cool it really is. So just by having
It,
these outreach
it's
programs, you
it's
a
it's
lot of
hard. It becomes hard to express in words what this is because
yeah,
it just
yeah,
strikes people through their very cores.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and it
It,
is life changing.
yeah,
So
it
uh,
is.
and so that's the people that do astronomy outreach. You mentioned, John, how rewarding, how self-rewarding, and how enjoyable that is.
Oh
That
yeah.
is most of the people I know that are involved in astronomy outreach, and I know many. Okay, they do it for selfish reasons. They love it. Okay, they
Well,
love
there's
it.
nothing selfish in this regard.
It's, so they'll be out in some light polluted street corner under street lights and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and have Saturn in the eyepiece or something. And as you
Yeah.
said, we've seen it a zillion times. But there's always someone who's never even used a telescope before their entire lives,
Hmm.
and because you're there, okay,
Hmm.
out there with that telescope, and they're seeing this other world, and
Hmm.
how many times have you heard people saying, "No, that can't be real. That
Yeah.
can't be real,"
You hear that a lot. You hear
But
that. In fact, you have, like, if you're looking at Saturn and the person comes up to the eyepiece and you don't say anything, you're just watching them come up and look at it, and they're kind of looking around, and then right when they see Saturn, they act, you know, wow.
wow.
It takes them a moment to get their eyes situated, so there's no sound, and then
Yeah.
that gasp, and wow,
Hmm.
Saturn, yeah,
And that is
it,
a moment of discovery, I think. I asked Carolyn Shoemaker, the
mhm,
Shoemaker Levy comet.
sure,
This goes back in the 90s, right after they had discovered Shoemaker Levy 9, and they had discovered a slew of comets, and they were into
yeah, yeah,
discovering
yeah,
asteroids and everything. And I asked Caroline, I said, what is it like to actually really discover something? I mean, really be the first person
uh-huh,
ever to see something
uh-huh,
like that. She
uh-huh.
said, well, you remember the first time? She says, you use a telescope, right? And I said, yeah. She said, you remember the first time you saw Saturn? And I said, yeah, I almost peed my pants. She said,
So you
that's what
you
it's
said that.
like.
She didn't say that. You said that. Okay.
She said, that's what it's like because you are, even though you might see something that's been observed countless times, okay? For that moment, that is discovery for you. And then you get to feel that. And
Yep.
so that's very important.
It is. It
What
is.
what else would you say about the league, John? What you've done all these things. You've been president, vice president, secretary, chair. You've been very devoted to this organization. Uh, and now we have this coronavirus thing, and we've talked about the calming effects
Mhm.
of astronomy, and of course you can do this very safely in your own backyard or with your loved one or whatever. But uh, what do you think that the overall legacy of the Astronomical League is?
Wow, that's never thought about the legacy. I guess it would be providing for a pathway to understanding the universe, just as you just mentioned, discovering the universe on your own.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, even though they like amateur astronomy, they don't know exactly what to do. They don't know what steps to take to find something in the sky, for instance. And I think what the league does is able to bring people together. I'll say like-minded people, but we're not really all like-minded. But we all like looking at the stars or being under the stars. And some of us have a lot of experience. Some of us have virtually none. And it's nice bringing them together for people to teach each other these things. Another aspect of it, bringing people together, it's one of safety. People like going out in the wilderness and
Sure,
looking up at stars at night, but they're a little uneasy about that. And if you have three, four, five, six people with you, that changes things completely. It
sure.
makes it a lot more fun. It gives you a chance to test out equipment. Kick the tires, so to speak.
And
Come up to
astronomers
the
are always
up to
sharing
the more
their
scientific
knowledge
scope
and
and kick it around a little bit.
yeah,
you know, uh, Not every telescope is meant for everybody, and
no,
but some are suited for certain people, and it'd be nice if they knew what that was. So it's things like that, which is what makes the Astronomical League very very useful,
yes.
and it's a lot of fun, I think, and
It is a lot of fun, and I think the legacy is how many lives that the Astronomical League has changed.
oh
Okay,
my God, yeah,
the astronomy, as I might have mentioned before, is a gateway science. It's something
yeah,
that anybody can do,
yeah, yeah,
including vision impaired people.
yeah.
There's vision impaired programs. There was Vivian Hetty at Yerkes Observatory ran a program one time
Oh, yes,
where,
yes, yes.
yeah, you might
Hmm.
remember her. Okay, she was working with kids that were literally blind, and they were taking heat map, 3D topographical images, okay, that they could feel of the Orion
Uh,
Nebula and craters on the moon and stuff like that. But they were exploring with the telescope, so
yep.
it's something that can be done. Uh,
Different way of looking at it. Different way. Yeah.
Different way. That's right. Um, we have just a
Well,
couple of
you,
minutes left here, but
you were talking about the youth awards, so the Explore
yeah,
Scientific sponsoring the NYAA. Right off the top of my head, I think that is now been going on for 27 years. Yeah, I think it's been 27.
right. We didn't always do it. It was with
28?
Wind Instruments originally,
Yeah, yeah. Okay. You have
and we've been
28
doing it for I think 11 years. So
and you times that by two for the number of people that get awards every year. So you're approaching 60 kids who have been directly influenced
yeah,
by this award.
yes.
And
Occasionally, I reach out to them when I can find them or
well,
talk to them, and it has changed their lives. They are some of them are doctors, and some of them are
yeah, well,
whatever.
I almost all of them are technical people
Yes,
gone into some type of technology,
and
and
accomplished.
that's great. It it enriches their lives and it enriches our world. So
Right.
I know we're getting kind of off track here, but
Well, no, it's the truth. It's the truth. That's part of the legacy of the Astronomical League is that it does that. Okay, so we've got just a couple of minutes here. I promise not to keep you on too long, but um, uh, for those who don't belong to a club right now, but are interested in getting involved with the Astronomical League, can join as a
you can
individual.
join.
Is that right?
Yeah, you can join as an individual. We call it member at large.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold me to this, but I think it's $40 a year.
40 a
But
year.
if you go through a club, it's only $5 a year.
Oh,
But but there are certain benefits of being a member
yeah,
at
there's
large that
apps
club
on
members
your phone
don't
that
get.
cost $5 a year. So,
Well, okay, what's $5? I mean, that's well now it's probably about 2.5 gallons of gas the way it's gone. But I
thank
used to say,
God.
oh
Yeah, that's
my
great.
gosh. So that's good. But yeah, just think of what $5 buys. It doesn't buy much today, and yet you can get a year's membership in the Astronomical League for that, as well as being a member of the club that you're with, and that's great. That's great, I think. And keep in mind that when we say $5, that money goes to running the Astronomical League.
Yes.
We're we're almost all volunteer. We have three contract employees like staffing our managing our database and
Yeah,
fulfilling our orders that we have a little store that we sell stuff in.
sure.
So really it's just we're over 100 volunteers doing this all the time,
Mm.
and which I just can't thank them enough for doing it because
Oh, yeah.
they're not getting anything out of it
Yeah,
except
they give more than
something
what
inside.
they're being
They,
paid for. That's true.
yeah,
And all the rest of the people that do this for free, from the love of it, and the volunteerism of it, which
that's
includes
true.
you. Okay.
Yep.
So, and before we go to, I did want to talk a little bit about the current leadership structure. Who's the current president,
Sure.
vice president of the league?
Well, our current president is Ron Kramer, and he lives in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Hmm.
Vice president is Carol Orge, who's in Kansas City.
Okay. Yeah. I've known Carol for a long
Secretary,
time and Ron and Kramer as well. So,
yeah,
yes.
and secretary is Chuck Allen, who is in
He's
Kentucky.
a former president, right?
Yeah, he was a president in 2000, the year 2000.
Okay.
Executive Secretary Maynard Pittendray down in Orlando, and our current treasurer is Bill Dillon, who lives in Virginia.
Okay.
They're in office, depending on the office itself, it's between every 2 and 3 years we have elections. And so this year we're redoing or rehaving elections for the vice president and president.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we do like to change things around a little bit. And we're always looking for people who are very interested in helping out and who are willing to put in some time, which very much appreciated. You
Sure.
know,
Sure.
uh, yeah. So I think we're a pretty strong organization right now.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. With great people involved and stuff. you go to an Astronomical League conference and you're going to make a bunch of new friends right away. But this year, the league it was supposed to happen. The conference was supposed to happen in Albuquerque in June, right?
That's
So
correct.
what's happening with that?
Yeah, well, actually, it was July 17th,
Oh,
something
it's
like that.
July. That's right.
It's
That's right.
July. See, you're going to miss it anyway. I don't know.
I had planned to go,
Yeah.
so
Well,
but
like everything,
yeah.
it's been canceled this year, and this is the first time since Alcon has been scheduled since early 1950s.
Hmm.
This is the first time it's been canceled. But associated with Alcon, we have a presentation of various awards, and all that still will be going on. However, we just won't be done. It won't be done in a conference setting. Some of those awards may be presented again next year, hopefully,
Hmm.
and it is again scheduled for Albuquerque. Essentially, we were able to redo all our contracts with the hotels and so on to move it from 2020 to 2021. So it'll be August 4th next year in Albuquerque at the Embassy Suites Hotel.
Will it be in the same spot or?
Same spot.
Okay. Okay.
Things could change in a year, but the way we have it envisioned now, it's going to be
Yeah.
essentially this the same program, same stuff. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Me too. Me too. Well, thanks, John, for giving us all your
Sure.
time
Very happy to talk.
today, and we'll have you back on to talk about other things as time goes on. So,
Well, I really enjoyed it. This was a half hour well spent, even though I wasn't looking under the stars. It was still well spent
there's
here.
a big star right outside your window there, right?
Yeah,
So,
there's a big light polluter out there.
yeah. Okay.
That's great.
Well, take care, and thanks very much, John. And
Okay.
everybody, we have other talks coming up. I had mentioned that Dave Eicher from Astronomy Magazine will be coming up. I think it's the 28th at 7 p.m. Central. But we'll have some other talks coming soon. Keep looking up, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye now.